Hey, it's Ted McGrath. Welcome to today's show. I'm going to jump in and talk about BMNR's shareholder meeting that they just had. I'm going to give you the quick recap based on Tom Lee's presentation there. Also talk about an interesting new partnership they created with MrBeast, who has 1 billion followers on YouTube, and why this is either crazy or this is a good move. And then I'm going to get in and show you a trading strategy with BMNR. And hypothetically, had you follow these charts, I'm just going to show you the charts on BMNR, that hypothetically, if you just look at the returns over the last 2 months, if you were trading this chart, they would have been approximately 34%. So I'm going to show you that trading strategy today. And none of this is tax advice, none of this is financial advice, none of this is legal advice. Do your own research. And we're going to jump in and rock and roll. And remember, investing, you have to definitely do your own research because you could lose your principal. Okay. All right. So let's jump in and talk about the shareholder meeting. Then I'm going to jump in and show you a quick trading strategy that I think you'll find very cool. And this is not for people who want to trade every single day. Like, you could literally do this trading strategy and place a trade once every 4 or 5 days. And I'm going to show you that in just a moment. Okay. So the shareholder meeting just took place. Big news. BMNR invests $200 million in MrBeast. Why is that the case? Well, let's jump in and look at what happened at the shareholder meeting first, and then I'll go in and show you a little bit about this trading strategy because I think you'll like it. Okay. So if you look at the performance of Bitcoin over the last so many years, Bitcoin is continuously the OG. It outperforms NVIDIA. Bitcoin's performance is 11,252%. So if you look at the price back on December 31st, 2016, Bitcoin was at $963. And now if you look at the price change as of September 26, 2025, so Tom Lee was showing this at his shareholder meeting recently, that you need to look at it before the October 10th dump. Bitcoin was at 109,000, and it would have been 11,000% return, which is insane. NVIDIA did 6,574% over that time frame, and then Ethereum crushes it. Ethereum does 48,000%. So it just gives you a little perspective on how far these assets have come. Bitcoin's the oldest and the strongest in its class. Back in 2016, Bitcoin was around 960, as I just said. By 2025, it went to 109,000. Okay, Ethereum was even faster than Bitcoin. And Ethereum went from $8 to around $3,900. So that's like turning $1 into $490. So when these assets move over a long period of time, they definitely move. And I think zooming out now and looking at things very long term, over 4 or 5 year periods, is important. I'm also going to get into a little bit of price forecasting for BMNR that Tom Lee did at the shareholder meeting. Again, this is a condensed version of the meeting and the presentation he gave. Okay. So Bitcoin's definitely the OG, but Ethereum gave the wildest growth. And why did it feel like in 2025 we were in a crypto winter? Well, you look at Bitcoin -3%, Ethereum -7%, gold was up 61%, the Mag 7 was up 23%, NASDAQ 21%, S&P 500 16%. Okay. So even after all these big returns, crypto felt weak in 2025. Meanwhile, other things like gold, big tech, S&P 500, crushing it. Okay. October 10th changed everything. We know that crypto had a great year up until October 10th, 2025. October 10th, 2025, around $1 trillion got wiped out of the marketplace. Before the crash, Ethereum was up 40%. Bitcoin was up 33%. We were all expecting a big run, and it did not happen. Okay. This was the biggest liquidation event in crypto history. And you see it here on the charts, 40% all the way down, 33% all the way down. Not a good 2025. The crash happened. Everything fell hard. Ethereum dropped, as I said, 50%, Bitcoin 36%. And from late December onward, we've been crawling back a little bit. But Treasury companies were supposed to buy the dip then, but most of them didn't. If you see Bitmine bought the dip, and most of the other Treasury companies did not do a lot. Now, what could have been done over this time period? I'm going to show you a little trading strategy here that we've been using in our community. Now, I'm going to give credit here to where credit is due, because this chart is an Invest Answers chart. So if you want to get charts like this, you can literally go to Invest Answers. You can subscribe to their platform and their trading technology. I just happened to use their trading technology, and I found a gem here that I want to show you. Okay, so if you look at BMNR, and this is wild to really check this out, because if you look at this, and it doesn't matter like if you've never traded before or whatever, I'm just going to show you philosophically, theoretically, if you had followed these charts, you could have crushed it in November, and really from November to December, December to January, over a 2-month period, while everybody else was losing money. Had one traded this chart, you could have won. Again, not financial advice, just showing you theoretical concept here. So let me show you here on these charts and how simple this is, and then I'll show you how some of our community crushed it with this. So you look here and you get into the chart and you look at BMNR. Now this is on the 2-hour. Again, this is Invest Answers technology. Okay. So if you look at the 2-hour chart here, if you look at this, basically what I'm trading and what I'm have been watching for months and months and months now is this trend line here of, you watch how this blue trend line, this basically means BMNR is bullish. So you look at this time period from about January 12th all the way up to January 15th, we had a nice run where BMNR was basically trending up. Now this is the 2-hour chart. So with trading, a lot of my community and friends, they don't want to trade every single day. So they follow these 2-hour charts, which I introduced them to, which is Invest Answers technology here. And a bunch of my friends who subscribe to Invest Answers use this technology. And then I show them basically like, how do you actually utilize it? And so I decided that I want to trade BMNR like 5-6 months ago. And if you look at this here, this is over like a 4-day period. So when the line turns blue here, okay, I would have gotten in this trade, and then I would have rode it all the way up. And so the price point was about $30.62 here for BMNR. And then over a 4-day period, I would have rode it all the way up to $32.19 before selling out when it turns yellow here. Okay. And so if you look at that gain from $30.69 all the way up to 32, that's like what, a 4 or 5% gain, about a 4% gain. And that's over a 4-day period. And then if you look at it over here, I'm going to go back further here. And also it was funny because we were watching the charts the other day, my friends and I in our community. And it was like, right here is like, I remember somebody who works for me, he was like, hey, check out the 2-hour chart. Right here is where you would have sold out. And you would have sold out about 32. And now what, it's down around 31 or something, closed at. Okay. And you could have picked up, sold out and bought back and picked up more shares. So you really look at this, there's like an opportunity in these down markets. And if you had traded BMNR, again, this time frame over here, look at this one here. If you had sold out up here, I'm going to show you right here where the blue turns to yellow, because that's the indicator to sell out. BMNR was at $32.36, and then you would not have bought back until here around $30.35. You would have picked up more shares. Okay. Selling out high, buying back low. Now, a lot of my friends and people in my community, they don't want to hold BMNR. I just happen to like holding BMNR. So to each his own. So here, if you had bought in back here, again, if you look how clean these lines are here, if you had bought in back here, where the yellow goes to blue, that would have been $27.75, and you would have rode BMNR all the way up. Why is my cursor being really slow right now? Maybe it's dying. You would have rode it all the way up, and then you would have sold out from $27 you would have bought in, and you would have sold out at $32. That's like a, I don't know, 13, 14% gain. Now, again, all of this is just showing you the charts, not telling you to do anything on this, just giving you education on this, okay? So this is just, and this is the time period of like, this is from January 2nd. So I'm showing you charts from January 2nd to January 16th or whatever it was. So there's tons of gains that could have been made in there. And so a lot of people are just sitting there waiting for BMNR to go up. And if you've been watching my videos, you've been hearing me talk all along how I'm not sitting here waiting for BMNR to go up. I'm trading it, and I hold the position and I sell out when it's high and I buy back when it's low. But a lot of my friends and people in my community, they're buying low and they're selling out high, and they don't want to hold the stock. They just want to pick up gains, and that's what they're doing. So this just becomes a really cool opportunity to you know, to pick up gains while everybody else is, you know, kind of struggling. You know, it's an opportunity to pick up gains. So it's very, very cool. And I'll share with you one more thing here. I don't know why my cursor's having problems here, but let's get back up here. Yeah, so pretty cool if you see that. And then I'll show you some other stuff, but anyway, that's pretty cool stuff. So if you want to get like down below, I also have a video more in depth of the trading strategy of how we do it. So you can watch it's more in depth and it goes into it. It's free. You can grab it with my free money game book down below as well. That's also free. Again, everything in the book I wrote, if everything in the video, that technology and those charts are invest answers. So that's where you can get the charts, and it's combined with Trading View. Okay. And so that's how I put the technology together, and that's what I use to trade. All right. And it's down below if you want more in-depth video on it to show you how to trade. Again, not tax advice or financial advice, just giving you some education on some learning on it. My community paper trades first. So they spend 2, 3, 4 weeks paper trading first before they ever get into doing real trading if they want to do that. And it's just a good thing to do, which is get educated. All right, cool. So let's get back into the charts here of BMNR and go back into basically what happened at the shareholder meeting. Okay. So only 2 companies bought in big size over the last, with Treasury companies, you know, over the last couple months. And you look at Strategy bought about $2.9 billion, which is significant. And you look at BitMine bought $2.4 billion over that time frame. So when it really mattered, only 2 players showed strength. So when you look at digital asset treasury companies, for me personally, there's a reason why I hold Strategy and there's a reason why I hold BMNR. Because these are the 2 players that are continuously showing strength, and they continuously continue to buy Bitcoin for Strategy and Ethereum for BMNR, and that's their playbook, and they're following it, and they continue to do what they say they're going to do. Okay. Bitcoin is the dominant ETH treasury company. There's really no comparison here. If you look at the liquidity of how BitMine actually trades, you know, their liquidity is 13.8x larger than their number 2 competitor, which is SBET, right? So crushing it there. And that's the part big investors really care about. They don't just want a company holding ETH. They want a stock that's easy to buy and sell. And that's called liquidity. So BitMine trades around $1.6 billion per day, which is insanely cool, right? 14x bigger than the next ETH treasury, which I just said. So institutions can buy huge amounts without moving the stock price too much. And that's a big advantage. So if an institution wants to come in and buy $1 billion worth of BMNR, they can buy it without moving the stock price crazily because there's so much liquidity in the marketplace. Okay. So even though there's 80 plus crypto treasury companies that exist, if you look over here, you look at the trading volume between Strategy and BMNR, and they pretty much dominate it with 90% trading volume. All right. So there you go. BitMine's mission, also known as BMNR. They want to own 5% of the entire Ethereum network. If you're new to this channel, we've been talking about this a lot, and they're moving way faster than anybody expected. So unless you saw Tom Lee's shareholder meeting that he had recently, I'm just giving you a fast recap of it because this is what he talked about. BitMine's already 68% on its way to alchemy of 5 in 7 months. The alchemy of 5 is 5% of the ETH supply. Right now, they're around 3.5%. So look how fast they've gotten there. They thought this might take 5 years for them to accomplish it when they launched this 5-6 months ago, and now they're already there, 70% of the way there. So in 7 months, BitMine already reached 4.2 million ETH, 68% of the way to their goal. If they use their cash, and you look at the cash that they have on hand as well in their treasury, they're 74% of the way there. And they would have about 4.5 million ETH if they deployed their cash as well. Okay. So there you have it. BitMine is a faster version of Strategy. And here's why. BitMine reached 13 billion in ETH plus cash in about 7 months. And at the same stage where BitMine's at right now, 6 months in or 7 months in, Strategy had 3.4 billion in Bitcoin. All right. So owning 5% of ETH means you shouldn't just sit and stake. That's Tom Lee's philosophy on this. Some people say, Tom, if you bought Ethereum, just stake and chill. But BitMine's logic is if we own a huge piece of Ethereum, we should do more than just stake it. And they have moonshot plans. And so this is where investments that they've made recently in moonshots come into play. All right. So Tom Lee said we will use up to 5% of our balance sheet for moonshots. So 5% of their balance sheet would be $700 million. And their first big moonshot has been MrBeast Industries. Okay. So they invested $200 million in MrBeast. So if you're looking at this, you're like, why in God's green earth would they do that? It looks so random. It doesn't look like part of the plan. Why do they do it? Well, MrBeast is a big deal. And why is he a big deal? Because he's basically the biggest creator in the world. He gets insane attention. He's got a huge fan base. He's got global influence. He's literally #1 on YouTube. So when you look at this, 1.4 billion unique views. He's got about 1 billion followers. And as Tom Lee was talking about this in a shareholder meeting, he was basically saying, like, if you look at the number of people that are online, like Facebook or Instagram or what have you, on the planet, you've got 7 or 8 billion people on the planet. How many of those are online? Maybe 3-4 billion. So every 1 in 3 or 4 people that are on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube are watching his stuff, which is pretty wild. Okay. So he has around 1 billion followers. That's a crazy number. MrBeast has watched more than Disney, Netflix, NBC, Paramount, Fox, Warner Brothers, Amazon. That's not influencer big. It's media empire big, right? So that's why BitMine's investing $200 million, and it's a no-brainer. Why is it a no-brainer? Because if you're BitMine and you want to get attention, one of the ways to actually get influence about BMNR and influence about the stock and get more awareness about Ethereum and what they're also doing in terms of the blockchain is to get attention, and MrBeast has attention. So when BMNR invests in MrBeast, that is a partnership where they can help them get attention, right? Which is pretty cool. Somebody's saying on there, my granddaughter watches his content. Yeah. And also, if you looked at the shareholder meeting, if you watched the shareholder meeting, Tom was talking about the people in the audience, and the people in the audience, the shareholder meeting, are mostly older people. So if Ethereum is going to be the future of finance, if BMNR is going to be a top leader and player in the game, then they would want to get more of people interested in the blockchain, more people interested in Ethereum, more people interested in BMNR. And how would you do that? You would get attention of a segment of the population that isn't aware of BMNR or isn't aware of Ethereum yet. And MrBeast opens up that avenue to them, which is a brilliant move, I think. I think it's brilliant, 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 brilliant. Okay. So he's the biggest creator on the planet, as we said, and Tom believes that this could be a 10x return over time. So this is the super combo for Ethereum. Ethereum is the future of finance. So if you want Ethereum to win, you need technology, you need money, and you need attention. And that's where MrBeast comes in. He helps get them attention, right? He is the biggest attention machine in the world. So this has become a powerful combo. BitMine equals biggest ETH holder. MrBeast, biggest attention holder. Starting to make a little sense now, yeah? So even if BitMine never buys more ETH, it still stakes a ton of money, which is a good thing, and makes it very exciting, right? So BitMine already owns 13 billion worth of ETH, and when they stake it, they earn rewards like a daily paycheck. So they can earn 360 million to 393 million per year from staking. Plus, with their cash, another 35 to 40 million per year. So that means their total income would be 402 million to 433 million. So when you take a look at this and you look at a company like Strategy buys Bitcoin and they sit on the Bitcoin. The difference with BMNR is obviously they're buying Ethereum, which is a totally different asset, but you can stake your Ethereum. And so BMNR stakes their Ethereum. And so rather than just accumulating Ethereum and holding it on their balance sheet, they stake it, which is good for the network. And additionally, they get a revenue stream from that. And so this is a company that will be showing income every single year, and they're already starting to stake it. And so now you have the ETH value going up on the balance sheet, and then you have income coming in, which makes the company even more valuable. So needless to say, I think this is a hot company. That's why I own it. And I also own MSTR. I also own Bitcoin. So there you go. Okay. So what happens if BitMine hits the alchemy of 5%? So this is stuff we can look at, we can speculate, we can project, we can look into the future. Again, this is just for educational purposes. But let's take a look at what could happen, right? If ETH stays around $3,000, that means BitMine's yearly income becomes $542 million. So in the scenario I just gave you, ETH is around 3,000. We know right now, about 3,300. But if Bitmine gets to 5% of the supply, that means their staking income could be about $542 million, which is huge, right? Super, super, super big. Okay. Tom Lee continuously says that ETH is undervalued. It should be much higher. So he gives a big example of ETH hitting $12,000. Who knows when this is going to happen? He just thinks at some point in the future, this is actually going to happen, right? So Bitmine's yearly income then becomes $2 billion is what his, what he's saying. If they have if ETH hits $12,000, then their yearly income from staking could be around $2 billion. That's huge, 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 right? So you talk about the shareholder vote in simple words. They just had the shareholder meeting. What are shareholders voting on? Bitmine's asking shareholders to vote on one big thing. They just had the meeting recently. The company's allowed to have 500 million shares. They want permission to go up to 50 billion authorized shares. Now, what does this basically mean? It doesn't mean that they're going to issue 50 billion shares, because the first thing people hear who don't know about the stock is they're like, oh my God, 50 billion shares. They're going to issue 50 billion shares and they're going to dilute all the shareholders. We know that when they issue more shares and the BMNR stock is trading above the net asset value of their Ethereum on their balance sheet, that means it's trading at a premium. And so when they issue more shares and they buy more Ethereum, that's good for shareholders. And so for the future, they want to be able to issue a lot of shares over the long term. So they need authorization to do that. Doesn't mean they're going to issue all the shares at once. Okay. So authorized, that's the important word here, not issued. So that does not mean all those shares get printed today. It just means the company is allowed to use them in the future. So why does the company want more authorized shares? Well, Tom Lee gives a few reasons, right? But the real reason's much simpler. The real reason is stock splits. Bitmine's stock price mostly follows Ethereum price. I was talking with my group the other day, and I was teaching them how to trade BMNR. And when I was showing them the education of how to do it, I basically told them that watch Ethereum. Like when I trade BMNR, I also watch Ethereum, because Ethereum and BMNR pretty much move in step like 95% of the time. And most of the time, because I've been trading BMNR for the last 6 months, most of the time as you watch the ticker, excuse me, as you watch the charts, I see that Ethereum moves a little bit before BMNR. So it's like an indicator of where BMNR is going to go. That's why I trade it. Okay. If you want my trading strategy down below, you can go watch a video of it for free. Click down below, snag it. Okay. So ETH goes up, BMNR usually goes up too. And that's just important to understand. All right. Now, Tom asks a simple question. He says, what happens if ETH goes really, really, really high? Well, ETH price, BMNR price, they kind of move together most of the time. So he uses a formula that connects ETH price, but he looks at it from the perspective of ETH to Bitcoin ratio. We know that Bitcoin kind of leads the market. Bitcoin and Ethereum trade together, like they move together like about 90% of the time. So he's looking at the ETH to Bitcoin ratio here. Here's the idea in kind of kid level math here. ETH to Bitcoin average is about 0.04. In the 2021 high was about 0.087, and today it's below average. And so if Bitcoin goes up a lot, ETH could go back to its old ratios that it was trading at in 2021, and ETH could move a lot. And so when you look at this chart here, you've probably seen this because Tom, he shows this chart all the time, and it's on BMNR's site. And what he's talking about here is if you look at the 8-year average for Ethereum and you look at the ratio of 0.0479, this is the ETH to Bitcoin ratio, that when or if Bitcoin hits 250,000, that based on the 8-year average, ETH should be at 11,965. So when you hear him talking about a $12,000 Ethereum price, that's what he's talking about. If you went back to the 2021 high, with the ETH to Bitcoin ratio, you'd have a $21,000 ETH. And if you went to if ETH eventually becomes the payment rails and the future of digital finance, you could see a $62,000 Ethereum based on a $250,000 Bitcoin. Okay. So that's the data that he's giving on this. Who knows whether it'll be happen. This is just speculation, projections, and charts. And again, you got to really, pay attention, get educated, do your own research on stuff, because this is just like projections, and none of this, like this might never come true. So just take it as a grain of salt and a projection. Okay. Tom gave examples of this. This is what I just showed. of how ETH could eventually get to 12,000, 22,000 and beyond. And now here's what that means for BMNR stock. So if you look at BMNR stock, if you look at the price point down below here, you basically see that based on those numbers and the Bitcoin ratio, again, ETH to Bitcoin ratio, this is just past performance. And so this is just the ratios that happened years back. And so if you look at Ethereum getting to $22,000, it's possible, I say, that BMNR could hit $500 at some point in the future. If you look at ETH being the future of finance and becoming the payment rails, and when we say the payment rails, we see a lot of large institutions that are moving on to Ethereum. When you look at the PayPals of the world, they're building on the blockchain now and they have their own coin. When you look at the BlackRocks of the world, they have their own money market fund on the blockchain. You look at the Morgan Stanleys, JP Morgans, there's all this talk, and there's lots of institutions that are moving onto the blockchain. So that means that many of them are moving on to Ethereum. Some of them are moving on to other chains, but that means that ETH is becoming the payment rails. Okay. And so Tom's basic projection is if ETH one day becomes the payment rails and becomes, the future of finance, which it looks like it's becoming, that one day you could see a $62,000 Ethereum. And that means BMNR's price could be $1,500. Again, all of this total projections. This is just what could happen. We don't know what year, what date, and we don't know if this will actually happen. Okay. So there you go. Those are the price points of where ETH could go, of where BMNR could follow. Again, there's lots that goes into BMNR's price. So you want to watch some previous videos or study some other research out there in the marketplace to figure out how BMNR moves with Ethereum. But I'm just giving you the basic concept right now. Okay. So you ask yourself, would you rather buy a stock at $25 or $1,500? Right now you've got BMNR moving around $31 or so. And then why companies do stock splits? Well, you take a look at this. NVIDIA did a 10-to-1 stock split. It's the same value. It's just smaller pieces of the stock. $500 stock split, 20-to-1. You go back to $25. A $1,500 stock split, 60-to-1, back to $25. A $5,000 stock split, 100-to-1, back to $25. Okay. So to do those splits, the company needs lots of authorized shares. So all of that to say that Tom Lee requesting more authorized shares of $50 billion is the reason why he was saying to shareholders, vote for the $50 billion of authorized shares, is because one day in the future, they may do a stock split. He's going to want to authorize more shares and issue more shares. So why 50 billion of authorized shares? Right now, BMNR has 400 million shares. If the stock ever reaches very high prices, they need room to split the stock many times. That's why Tom wants 50 billion. And there you go. It's not dilution today. It's future proofing. And that is the game plan of what this man is planning in the marketplace. All right. So I hope this serves you. I hope you're all doing well. And I'll see you in the future. If you want to grab my Money Game book, you can grab it down below and snag it. And you can grab a video that I did on the trading strategy that I use. If you watch the video down below, you'll see that the trading strategy that I use has to do with TradingView and also Invest Answers technology together. And I just happened to find a sweet little spot with BMNR. And I think BMNR is a great stock. That's why I hold it. I also like to trade it. And there you have it. So hope this serves you. Again, you have digital asset treasury companies like BMNR, MSTR. They are risky and they are very new still to the marketplace, so they're misunderstood. So the best thing to do is do your research. Anything on the show is educational, informational purposes only, not financial advice. So hope you have a great day, and I will see you on the other side. Stay well.